Those who master observation master their destiny. Today, I have a riddle for you all that I know is gonna stomp you right in your tracks. I'm super excited about this one because I'll be able to just take you to school, teach you all the lesson like I typically do. So I want y'all to sit back, relax, put your thinking caps on. Y'all know how we get down on Fridays. This is episode 5 of Free-Minded Fridays. And on Fridays, we like to take that energy that we have, that the extra pop that we get on Fridays, and we want to leverage that for progression, to upgrade our mindset, to think outside of the box, really get creative. So make sure to subscribe here at the channel. Here at the top shelf, we are empowering hustling professionals to level up every single day. And we do this through strategy, mindset, and actual tactics, right? And so today we're going to get into a mind frame or framework of thinking that is very scientific, and I'm excited to present this to you all. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into this riddle. So the name of this riddle is called the Prisoner Hat Riddle. And it goes like this. There are 4 criminals and they're standing on some steps and they're all facing the same direction. Now, in between the 3rd and the 4th criminal, there's a wall, right? So to summarize, the first criminal can see criminals 2 and 3. The second criminal can see only criminal 3. Now, the 3rd criminal can't see anything. He's in front of the wall. And the 4th criminal doesn't see any criminals because he's in the front. Now, the criminals are wearing hats. They're told there's 2 black hats and 2 white hats. And they're told to shout out the color of their hat as soon as they know for certain what color hat they're wearing. Now, there are some rules that go along with this, right? First, they're not allowed to turn or take off their hat. They're not allowed to walk towards each other, and they're not allowed to talk to each other. So no communication, no movement. Which criminal figures out what color hat they're wearing first? Right? That's the riddle. Which criminal shouts out first? Now, before we dive into the answer, let's take a second to reason together. Now, there's 2 types of reasoning we want to use here. It's deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. Now, deductive reasoning basically says if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, right? So if one thing is true and this information is based on this true information, then right, you can deduct that this is also true. So with that being said, prisoners 3 and 4 have no visibility to the other prisoners. There's no information that they could have to make this decision. So obviously we can rule prisoners 3 and 4 out of the equation. They have no information to solve it. So then we've got to look at prisoners 1 and 2. Now, I spend a lot of my time looking at prisoner 1 because he has the most information. He can see prisoner 2 and 3. Now, prisoner 2, as you can see, is wearing a white hat. Prisoner 3 is wearing a black hat. So prisoner 1 can be wearing either black or white hat. Now, if we look at prisoner 2, he says to himself, well, prisoner 1 didn't shout out yet. Prisoner 1 hasn't said anything. So that must mean that he doesn't know what color hat he's wearing. If I was wearing a black hat, prisoner 2 speaking, and prisoner 3 was also wearing a black hat, so 2 black hats in front of prisoner 1, he could reasonably deduct that there's 2 white hats left. They must be on his head in prisoner 4. But because he didn't shout out, that must mean that prisoner 2 and 3 are wearing 2 different color hats. Now, because prisoner 2 can look in front of him and see the color hat that prisoner 3 is wearing, then that means he has the answer. So prisoner 2 has the answer. He sees in front of him a black hat. That means he must be wearing a white hat. And that is the answer to this riddle. I know some of you all struggle with that. Shout out to everyone who is able to reason their way through this riddle. And there's a couple lessons that we want to take from this. The first is the 2 mind frames, 2 ways of thinking, deductive and inductive reasoning. Now, when we're looking at deductive reasoning, this is super important because this helps us understand the facts of the situation. Understanding the facts of the situation is super important to assessing any problem. Now, based on these observations, based on these facts, then we have to create a hypothesis, right? Now we've got to hypothesize. We're getting into the game of probability. Now, criminal 2 gets into the game of probability. He says, hey, he makes a hypothesis. The guy behind me doesn't know what color hat he's wearing. And the reason I infer that he doesn't know what color hat he's wearing, because he hasn't shouted anything out. And if I were wearing the same color hat as prisoner 3 in front of me, then he would know for certain he's wearing the opposite color hat, right? So this is a hypothesis. And this is where we need to focus our attention for this lesson. When it comes to your career, when it comes to solving problems, really when it comes to everyday life, we have some facts in front of us, we've got some data in front of us, and then we start to make decisions based on this data. Now, the scientific method tells us to come up with a hypothesis and test it. This inductive reasoning, it also keeps you flexible, right? We always like to say what we know, and just kind of boast what we know, and that just makes us arrogant. Instead of boasting what we know, let's test it. Let's get into the field. You know what I mean? Let's start thinking like scientists, and let's start testing some of these theories, and that's going to keep us flexible. It's going to allow us to pivot. If something doesn't work, let's think about what does work. Let's gather some data and let's do what works. If that doesn't work, we can move on to the next step. All right, cool. That didn't work for me. You know, one thing may work for someone else, but it might not work for you. And so this type of thinking is a fundamental way of thinking, and understanding the fundamentals, it just makes us more knowledgeable, makes us more efficient. Now, I'll give you one example, right? Maybe you wake up in the morning and you get a workout in. You get some kind of movement, some physical activity, and you have a great day that day. That day after that, your brain is clear, you're full of energy, right? Your body's metabolizing that food from last night, and you're feeling good. Now, maybe you do this 2 days out of the week, and you hypothesize that, hey, maybe, you know, some physical activity in the morning provides me with the best chances for a great day, and you start to test that, right? And then you may find it to be true, or you may find it to be untrue, but that's an example of how you can optimize your day based on a hypothesis. I'll give you another example. Perhaps you have some meetings in your daily schedule, and before the meetings, what you do before one meeting, you take a look at the meeting topic, the title of the meeting. You start to put together some notes, you put together some thoughts, and you use ChatGPT to organize these thoughts, to uncover any outlying questions that you may need to ask, and you ask it to help you prepare. Now, during that meeting, you're able to pose some good questions. You're able to expose some areas that maybe your coworkers or your colleagues didn't quite uncover, and you are able to progress in this meeting more efficiently. So your hypothesis here may be, every time I prepare for a meeting with notes and questions to ask, and I use AI to help me be more efficient in this preparation, then the meeting goes smoother and you're able to ask better questions. Now, you may test that. So next thing you do is you do that for another meeting, and you take your observations and you study these observations, you study the results, and you're able to conclude, hey, this is a successful hypothesis, or this was an unsuccessful hypothesis. And this is the pattern of inductive reasoning, and it's super powerful when it comes to progression and efficiency. And so to wrap this episode up, I want to encourage you all to be more scientific, right? Think about the scientific process and some of your daily decisions, some of the problems that you're solving on your daily life and in the workplace, and just be more data driven when it comes to these decisions. Man, I hope y'all learned something. I know that riddle stomped y'all out, so see y'all next week on episode 6 of Free Minded Fridays. Again, make sure to subscribe here at the channel. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Peace.